Happy Bow Day, one and all. When I was a kid, I'm talking, 12, 13, went up Trail Ridge Road, Rocky Mountain National Park. Picture it. You get up to the top, and there's a tourist trap there, full of all sorts of wonders that any child would want. But I was drawn to, basically, something like this. I remembered it was made uh, somewhere in Appalachia. It was made by a Cherokee gentleman. It was basically just a strip of oak. It was a simple bow. And out of all the things that I could have coveted in that tourist trap was that simple bow. I was able to, with the help of my parents, cooperating in the future of my bow making, brought that bow home. And all the little neighborhood kids, we all had our bows and arrows. There was probably some fiberglass ones and some laminated wood ones, but there I was with this probably, for all intents and purposes, like 15 or 20 pounds. And so I'd shoot it in the air and go shh. But I loved that thing. See, I didn't know that I could have shortened it to give it more draw weight. Used to put it over the grill, start the coals, rub grease into it. There was something in me that was just drawn to that bow. I mentioned I didn't know that I could have added draw weight to it by shortening it. You know, I could have given it 5 extra pounds by knocking an inch off of each tip. Simple. Off my little simple bow. I grew up in a vacuum. And that extended into my teen years and my 20s. You know, when I had this need to make bows, but there was no traditional Boyer's Bibles back then when dinosaurs roamed the earth, or YouTube, or interwebs, or forums for bow makers. That was before the internet. There I was, basically lived in the woods, near the woods, trying to cut trees, trying to make bows, and they all failed, but I kept at it. I actually have the very first bow. I mean, this is ancient history that I ever made that was able to shoot an arrow okay. You know, I tried cutting saplings and it just didn't work. There's nothing there. That little light bulb hadn't clicked yet, but what I did is I just took, it's actually 2-piece, joined at the handle. Picture this. Took a piece of hickory, about yay long, split it, and then took a section for the handle, and it's wrapped on there with sinew, and there's brain tan buckskin over that. And then I put the hickory bark over the sinew. And not what you'd call a powerful bow by any means, but it worked. Made me happy. And so from then on, I would make bows in that style. I'd get a piece of maple or hickory or any other hardwood, about yay long, split it, and then take the butt end, join it with a handle. And it was, the trick to this was, I was unaware of tillering sticks, you know, and now refined bends, is it circular or elliptical, but when I would split it, it was basically tillered and would have, you can see the string follow here is more or less, you know, showing that the bow had decent tiller. There was no hinges. That allowed me to quickly and easily make a bow that was not hingy. This one actually kind of failed because that bark peeled off and it threw the whole equation of tillering out. That's why there's kind of a hingy bend right there. It's that bark failed. You know, I didn't even bother to take all the bark off them. But let's fast forward to when I grasped the concept of bows. The first is you have to have a good piece of wood. And that involves going into the now, the present really. It goes into either, you know, running to Lowe's or Home Depot or Menards or anywhere that sells lumber, you know, hardwood, be it hard maple or red oak, which I like red oak. Getting a nice grain or going out into the woods, gathering your own natural staves, working the bow down and letting it dry to the point where you'll be successful. You can't rush things. You know, either or, you know, a board bow or a stave made bow. If you think about it, really, I'll take one person, one bow maker. I'm going to make a video. And this is kind of shows the mindset of most people. I'm in that group too. I see a video. One person will make one video. And think about this in the point of time of like bows found, whether or not it's in Holmegard or somewhere in Africa or something in the Southwest. How many bows did those bow makers make? Each bow maker. Let's take a village of 200 bow makers plus the accessory kids and all the other people here. 200 people that make bows. Each of those people are going to make a number of bows in their lifetime. So you have 200 people, let's say they each make 20 bows in their lifetime. That's 4,000 bows that those people at that time, that one generation made. 4,000 bows. Some may not make it through the sands of time to today. Maybe one did. But then think of all those other generations of people and all those people that made multiple bows. They weren't all alike. Look at this. This is just 2 examples of what I did. I can't even name or think of the number of different kinds of bows I made. But what would happen if that person made one video, somebody would look at it? That's how you make bows. Or you find a bow from an area of the world, 1,000 years old. That's how they made bows, even though there's been who knows how many bows were made in that area over a course of even 50 years. You know, so don't get tripped up into this is one design or this is the one design I should do. You can make a board bow, but you can certainly make a stave bow. The point being to this video is you want to be successful. You know, I'm a first-time person. I've had bad luck. I'm playing a part here. I'm being theatrical. I haven't had any luck yet. And I want to make, let's go to the extreme. I want to make a horn bow. A horn bow. Let's go to another extreme. I want to make a molly molar get bed. Or I want to make a this, or one of your paddle bows, or this or that. I'd say, slow down, Pippi Longstockings. Let's get one good successful bow under your belt. Now I'm going to suggest a board bow. Just one bow, you know. Make a successful bow, then go out, cut a sugar maple stave. Split it, dry it, make a stave bow. But what you want to do is you want to have a successful bow as soon as possible, and then you can go off studying that bow and seeing how you can apply the same theories and practices to your stave bows, or taking upper layers off of Osage or mulberry or black locust or red elm or whatever, working down to the heartwood. You don't do more complicated bows, but let's get a successful bow under your belt. Let's get a nice board bow. Not all of us can go out into the woods and gather a stave, you know, and you know, it is what it is. But most, if not all of us, have access to a red oak piece of wood. So what should that first bow be? I hear a lot of people, I want to make a paddle bow. Well, I don't blame you. They're amazing. But let's make very effective, very simple bow. And so let's see, dimensions. I should have, oh, look at this. Now I'm going to pick on somebody. D, I'm just going to use your first initials. D contacted me and said, I want to make a sub 60-inch bow that's 37 to 40 pounds, there and abouts, at 28 inches of draw. I would say, as I told him, you're approaching half the length of the bow in that draw length. And being able to make a bow certain length that you can draw unbagged to half the length of the bow. That's the stuff of an experienced bow maker. That's the stuff of somebody that can make a short, wide paddle bow. That's the stuff of somebody that can work down Osage. Because if you wanted to make a D bow that's unbagged, you could get half the draw length, or half the length of the bow in draw length. You're not going to be working with red oak. Let's just say that. And if you are, which I have done this, I could do this if I wanted, I would make a paddle bow shape bow, very wide, very thin, very crowned. You know, it's not a beginner's bow. So let's just shelve that for a while. Let that be your third bow after you make successful D bow. Because part of it is your woodworking too. You might be a professional woodworker that has all the tools, nice wood shop, the ability to follow a line, but let's say you're not. For a 28-inch draw, and I'm going to tell you, I'm 5'11". I used to be 6 foot tall before I got old, but the pressure of living has shortened me. I can draw 30 inches, no problem. I've got long arms, but I can also have an anchored shot less than 28, you know, and this bow that you have in your mind, it's not the be all and end all. Let's make things easier on yourself. You could have a bow that would be perfectly good at 25 inches, but then when you draw it to 26, it breaks. You know, as you gain experience, you have more control over that, but you're a first timer. So let's just go a minimum of 66 inches. That's a good compromise between not too long and not too short. 66 inches, you should be able to get a 28-inch draw with a bow around 40-45 pounds, and greater draw if it's less weight. Let's see the dimensions. And this is cheap. And you're not going to be rushing into it. If you go to Home Depot and you don't find piece of wood that has straight grain, and I'm going to say, when you look at the end, just make it simple, 45 degrees. It can be less, it can be slightly more. You don't want quarter sawn. 40, 45 degrees, 35, whatever. Straight grain. If you don't see that, if you see knots and curls and runoff, pass it up. It's not worth it. Don't set yourself up for failure. But you can use a thin piece, because this, at its widest, is are those eighths? No, I'm so dumb with this. 2, 4, 6, that's a quarter. 8, yes it is. What the hell is wrong with me? I'm having a brain aneurysm here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh, duh. 3/8. 1 3/8 inches wide. Sorry about that. I need my second cup of coffee. 1 3/8 inches wide. When you start getting into 1.5, then the paradox is more of an issue. But anything less than 1.5 is fine for a handle width. 1 3/8. It's good. And 66 inches long, it goes from that to, it could be a little narrower, to an inch wide. Or 7/8 of an inch. There's no extreme thing. So you got your board, mark a center line, because even in a board it can kind of go like this. So you want to have straight center tip, handle tip, make an X for the center, mark 3 inches on either side, because the handle's going to be parallel. 6 inches, 7 inches, whatever. 1 3/8 wide, 6 inches, and then the rest will be a steady taper. Let's call it 7/8 of an inch wide at the tip. Again, you're going to have an easier time tillering it evenly if it's 7/8 opposed to 1 inch, because when it gets to 1 inch, it starts getting a little thin here. But yeah, simple. 66 inches long, 67, 68 will make it easier for yourself. 6-inch wide handle, 1 3/8, 7/8. Straight line, cut it out, because that's your first thing. You want to cut the face out. I'm talking about a 3/4 board here. If it's like a thick stave, you want to work it thin and this and then thin and then work this. But just on a board, it's pretty easy to do that. You could even just rip it on your table saw, you know. Carefully use it like a bandsaw. But that's it, the measurements. 7/8, 1 3/8, 6-inch parallel handle. Huzzah! Now, with a 66-inch bow, this is really handy. You're using a 3/4 board. Leave it 3/4 of an inch thick, full thickness here. When you finish sand, it'll get a little less, but 3/4 will leave you with a non-bending handle. And I've talked about why I like non-bending handles. There's no bend in this handle. I don't like bending handles. There's no reason for a bending handle in a 66+ inch bow with full draw. There isn't, unless you want hand shock. Unless you want to possibly gain some string follow and really amplify the string follow by having that bend form in the center. The next bit is, here it is. And this is my secret. This is my secret. This thing. You're going to mark it out in thirds. See thirds? Tip, third, third, third to center. 3/4 of an inch full. You're not doing anything. Then that center third, 1/2 inch. And then that last third, less. Just less. And so you've got this, and then a line here, then a line here. And then work it down. Orbital disc sander will take you a while. Farrier's rasp. That's the secret. And then take those lines and kind of grade them so it's a smooth curve. And then the tillering, when you're sanding or working it down, then you can get that even bend when you're like studying it, working it like that. But Farrier's rasp, having a tool that will give you some traction and you'll see wood chips flying. And something like this. You need some way to scribe lines. Sure, you could go out, you could floor tiller a bow by eye, but we're talking about your first bow here. Make one or get a hold of me. I probably have a few of these laying around to sell you one. But I kind of like the idea of making your own. Maybe if I was to find the pieces and parts for this, it would be a you finish kind of thing. So you're putting your handiwork into it. But yeah, dimensions, 1 3/8, 7/8, at least 66 inches long, 3/4, then it grades to about 1/2. You're gonna work that down when you're tillering it, but you're safe at 1/2 inch. You're not going too low. And then less, a tick less than 1/16 of an inch or whatever, less. What else? Oh, rounding the back. I don't know if you can see it because this is not the greatest round, but that brings life to the bow. It also works the bow down. It's also, from an engineering standpoint, valuable, that crown there. And that is all. You know what I'm going to do? I've been sitting on these things, I don't know, doing all right with my taxes. You saw these things shooting. I'm going to knock some dollars off. I'm going to get these things into people's hands because I'm such a single-minded person. These things are clouding my mind. Working on gull wing bows now. I want to get these out of the house into the hands of somebody that's going to use them and appreciate them and have fun with them and maybe display them. So, off the cuff. Now I'm going to throw in shipping. This is stupid cheap. $180 for the paddle bow. Shipping will be this side of 20, so I'm eating it on this, but whatever. I want to get bows in people's hands. And $160, and I'll throw in shipping. on this D-ball. Merry Christmas. Have a good one. Thank you for watching. You need a paddle ball. It's your opportunity, because I'm going into full gullwing mode. This might be my last paddle ball for a very, very long time. That might be my last D-ball for a very, very long time. Working out, because I want to be the gullwing guy from now on. Working out the design for a beautiful compromise between the short draw of the gullwing and a usable gullwing. They're going to be fantastic. Have a good one. Get these bows.